Welcome to Vikes Report Rewind. As always, I'm one of your three humble co-hosts. I am Ted. Above me are Drew and Chris. Vikings stubbed their toe on the way to a blowout, but still managed to beat the Green Bay Packers 27-25, moved to 14-2. And next week is for the division title and home field advantage in the NFC throughout the playoffs in Detroit against the Lions. And this is the least talked about 14-2 team in NFL history, I think. I don't know. Maybe they proved it again today as to why they had a 27-10 lead with like 5 minutes to go. And once again, I thought they were going to win the whole time. I don't care what the score was. Drew, you wanted the mic early. Go ahead and go.
Well, first off, I want to say hello to everybody in the chat and make sure you give Ted shit for Cam Akers because he not only got a touchdown, he saved the game there at the end. I would like to first off say, for my talking head buddies, David Byrne and Tina Weymouth, you may ask yourself, my God, where are we? What have we done, Ted? And you may ask yourself, is this not my beautiful offense? And you may say to yourself, my God, we're playing for the number 1 seed next week. And the days go by and the water holds me down. And I wanted to say KOC after Green Bay. This is the clutch of the game, Ted. You got your thinking ears on? This is the clutch of the game right here. They get the interception, they go down and score to make it 20-10. KOC comes out with this brilliant no huddle, great creative plays, putting the Packers back on their heels. He drives down the field to make it 27-10. That I wanted to take. I'm going to take my hat off to him. Take this hat off to him. This hat off to him. I'm going to take this one off right here. I'm taking all my hats off to him. This one, even the San Jose Sharks one. All my hats are coming off for that drive because that drive was brilliant. That's what saved the game. The Vikings didn't do the Zimmer, go into a shell with Clint Kubiak and pitch the game away. They did later, but not at that point. That was a crucial point of the game because Green Bay feels like they got the momentum back, Chris, and we took it right down the field. And it wasn't just, it was a bunch of creative play. It was great. It was the best drive we've had all season, made it 27-10. And if it wasn't for our liquored up shit kicker, we'd have won that game going away. Welcome, everybody, to Vikings Report with Drew and Ted and Chris.
Chris,
that's like we always say, we can't just make this easy every once in a while. You get up 27-10, and you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and the next thing you know, you're sweating it out because you got to convert a 3rd and 2 with under 2 minutes to go so that you can kneel out the clock. I mean, a win is a win. Fuck it. We're going to Detroit next week. We're playing for the number 1 seed in the conference. Nobody thought that was going to happen. They won 9 games in a row. Nobody thought that was going to happen. I don't know what the hell to say about this team anymore. They do what they have to do when they need to do it, and it happens every damn week. It seems like.
I will tell you what to say about this team. The ghosts of the past, I feel, are gone. I've said this before on this show. I said it on Twitter today. When the Vikings in the past, when they faced adversity, or when what we felt was a key moment in the game would happen against the Vikings, a key play, like Sam Darnold's pick, where the Packers went right back down,
right,
and scored. And all of a sudden it went from 20-3 to 20-10, where the Vikings seemed to be in control. And now all of a sudden a bad thing happens. Green Bay kind of gets back into the game. That was the moment in time where the avalanche or the snowball effect would take place. And you just felt things would get out of control for the Vikings. And it wasn't the Mike Zimmer era. It was the Tice era. It was the Childress era. It was every era, even parts of the Dennis Green era, going all the way back to, Burns and Bud Grant, the latter days of Bud Grant, the last few years of his tenure. When after the Purple People Eaters were gone, that bad things would happen. Jamie Dahl says, Ted, how about Akers? I will address Cam Akers in just a little bit. I will say my piece about Cam Akers. Everybody, hold your horses about my Cam Akers opinion. Let me finish my point. This is as close. This is as close to the Purple People Eaters in their prime as you will ever see. If you were too young to watch the Purple People Eaters, then I'm sorry you missed that era. That team, those teams in that era found a way to win. And I always felt confident going into the game, no matter how close it was, even if they were down, they figured it out and they won. And this team figures out a way to win. And I fully believe next week when they go into Detroit and nobody's thinking that they will win, they will. And if they go down early, I'm not going to get worried. If they go up big, I figure Detroit will come back and make it close because it's going to be Detroit. But I figure they will find a way to win. They just will. This team is built different, man. They just are. That's just how I feel. And I know Drew gets upset that they don't win by 2 scores every week. And I get that.
You know what? It's not Drew gets upset. It's Drew doesn't understand why. Because it's like I've watched a lot of football in my days, and I know football can creep up on you, but the Vikings have too many games, and they haven't given it away. But they have too many games like this where, I wanted to ask you guys. First off, I'm not going to let the goddamn Green Bay Packers 8 minutes of football hijack this show. Fuck them.
There you go.
We beat their ass the whole day. Look at the 418. Look at the yardage. Look at the play at the line of scrimmage. I don't give a shit if they came back and made it close at the end. Big deal. You lost, bitch. Sit down.
There you go.
Yeah.
But what I mean on my end is sooner or later it's going to bite you. And we got to put, I'm telling you, Ted, you don't want it to bite you in the playoffs. You got to, and I wanted to ask you guys, when a team comes back like that, is it more of what the Vikings are doing, Chris, or is it what the Green Bay was doing? Because it was an avalanche. And I see it happen. We see it happen in all the games, Chris, Ted, not just the Vikings. This happens a lot in the NFL.
It seems like the coverage got a little softer there towards the end for whatever reason. I mean, the Vikings were getting to Jordan. Jordan Love didn't crack 60 yards passing until the start of the fourth quarter today.
Right.
I mean, they were all over him. But there was most of the game they were averaging more yards every time they handed Josh Jacobs the ball than they did when Jordan Love dropped back to pass. But
right.
Those last couple of possessions, I know that the broadcast kept saying that the Vikings were sending the blitz and this and that and the other, but the coverage was just a lot softer than it had been, I thought. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's actually happening or if it's just the perception that it's happening. But yeah, we talk about Kevin O'Connell need to be more aggressive on offense. The defensive aggression needs to stay at the same level too. I know we all want Brian Flores and everything he's done for this defense and whatnot, but if we're going to get on Kevin O'Connell for not keeping the pressure on, we need to maybe get on Brian Flores a little bit too for doing the same thing.
Great point. Great point, Chris.
My boy Tommy checked in a little bit. Troublemaking 3-3 said, "Hey, what's up with the kicker?" or something to that effect.
Oh.
I'm kind of worried about Will Reichert. I mean, look, he makes those 2 kicks. The one was long. I thought it was good, but that second kick he missed was almost inexcusable. I don't know what's up with Will Reichert. He was money earlier in the year. You make those 2 kicks, and this isn't even a nail biter at the end. So I hope whatever it is going on. I thought he had his issues figured out last week or the last couple of weeks when he came off the IR. Is this a concern moving forward, guys, with Will Reichert?
I don't think it's a huge concern. I mean, the guy's been solid. I don't know if he's still maybe overcompensating for the injury, if he's changed something or whatnot, but given some of the Vikings kickers we've had in the past, I don't know if it's a super huge concern at this point.
And Stephen Wright said, well, he actually missed 3 kicks, but yeah, he was right. He did, but then the Packers got called for an offsides, and he got to do it over in the Vikings.
And he had that botched kickoff.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not as concerned with it because of what you mentioned going into the intro of the show, Ted. The culture of this team is not going to let a goddamn kicker ruin a game for him. They're not. And
No.
today the kicker didn't play. I mean, he hit a couple field goals, but he didn't play well. But it didn't cost the Vikings the victory. It didn't cost them the win. The Vikings culture is not going to let it come down to And look, Will Reichert needs to go with the spiked haircut and the Sex Pistols T-shirt at practice. Come on. You got to pimp daddy. You got to go full on middle finger. You got to get the attitude back, Chris, because his confidence seems shot. But this Vikings team, make the field goals or don't make the field goals. We are not letting a kicker decide our games like Greg Joseph. It's not going to happen with this team.
All right, real quick, like Drew said at the top of the show, thanks for joining us. We're going to give away at least one prize at the end. Ruby is writing down names. At the end of the show, we will spin a wheel and give away at least one prize. Brad Morin says, Ted, I believe they'll beat Detroit. I think they will too, but that's neither here nor there. Somebody mentioned, look, I've said I'm not a big fan of Cam Akers. I don't think he's a very good running back. I will say the catch he made for the touchdown was an exceptional play. The catch he made at the end of the game to dagger the Packers today was an absolutely tremendous catch. I don't know that Aaron Jones makes that catch. I will give Cam Akers his due credit today. He made some plays. He deserves credit. He deserves credit.
That last possession when the Vikings needed to move the ball and get first downs, we're out here throwing passes to CJ Ham and Cam Akers because we have that much confidence that Sam Darnold can get the freaking job done.
You know,
he can throw it to damn near anybody.
That call to Ham on first down was beautiful.
That was awesome.
That should have been called the drive before that. That should have been the first down call of the drive before, but that was timed and executed perfectly, just like that Addison touchdown. When they baited him, they looked off the safety, and Addison swung around and hit that. I mean, that was beautiful. The Vikings have some very well-designed offensive plays. They do.
Yeah, they do.
I'm seeing in the chat comments here something about an injury to Aaron Jones. Did they make Chris? Did you see that? Did they make an announcement during the game, or is it?
They didn't make a formal.
Media?
They didn't make a formal announcement about him being out. I mean, I know they showed him a couple times on the sidelines with some sort of wrap around. I think it was his right thigh.
Okay.
I think they were speculating that he might have gotten stepped on at some point, but he was out there for quite a bit of the second half, I thought. But he wasn't out there on that last drive.
Okay.
So,
Northfield, Ted needs a My Akers tattoo on his ass. No, that's not ever going to happen. Never.
The Nard Dog.
I'll get a Michigan tattoo before that happens, and I'm never getting a Michigan tattoo, and I'm never getting a tattoo. Period. So, anyways, Jared P says Jones got stepped on. Hopefully it's minor and he'll be okay next week. And Sam is the first quarterback in the NFL, in I guess NFL history, I would imagine, with 14 wins with a new team. Set a personal career high in passing yards against the quote unquote vaunted Green Bay Packers secondary.
He's in what, 4 touchdowns of catching Culpepper, Ted? No?
He was 7 going into the game. He had 4 today, so 3 next week. He
had 3 today.
He had 32 going into today, so Culpepper had 39, so we're 4. I guess it's 4 behind. It's high.
Yeah, I'll look
That's
it up
fantastic.
Here.
What a fantastic season he had.
I'm so happy for him.
Some of those passes still a little high. A lot of them are a little high, but he gets away with it for some reason. He makes when we need the money throws, he makes the money. He makes some bad passes. Every quarterback in the freaking league makes bad passes. He comes into an offense he's unfamiliar with. Sam Darnold is the MVP of this team. And who's going to say that back in
Absolutely.
Who's going to say that back in September, Ted?
Not ESPN, who had us pegged for the number 1 overall pick, if you guys remember.
Mm-hmm. All these people who get paid to be experts about football, and we're here.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. That's perfectly okay.
14-2, man. I mean,
I think the highest. Drew, you still have our preseason predictions. I think we all had us.
Yeah, we had
to go 12-5.
We had them at 12-5. We all had them winning this game. We all had them losing the Seattle game to bring it to 12-5.
Okay.
But next week, I had them beating Detroit. Ted had them beating Detroit, and Chris had it as a loss to make it 12-5. So that's our predictions for next week. We're pretty damn close.
In my defense, I recall saying that the Vikings were going to lose that game because they were going to be sitting their starters because they would have it all wrapped up.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's legit. I mean, that's a legit reason. We'll let that one slide. That's okay.
I don't think they're losing now, but that's here nor there. We'll get into that in next
We're
week.
going to kick their ass. Kick the Packers' ass. I don't want to hear about their comeback. I don't even care what they did. I'm glad they didn't do it the whole game.
I'm sure the experts will say the Green Bay's a better team because they had a better loss than the Vikings had win and got swept by the Vikings.
You take Josh Jacobs out of there, we win by 45.
That's
the only thing they had tonight. When he was out of the game for a while, we were dominating the piss out of him. Come on.
Jordan Love throwing the ball was about as accurate as an 8th Air Force daylight World War II bombing raid today. I'm just saying.
Fucking stupid.
I'm just saying.
Stupid Romeo Dubs helmet. What is that?
Oh, that's the
Gazoo.
Yeah, that's the great Gazoo safety helmet.
They can't make those things look a little better than that. I mean, it's like you're wearing a big giant tent over your head.
Yeah.
No, Love was inaccurate. He was scared back there, and the Vikings started teeing off on him late in that game. Quite frankly, the way the game was going, I'm shocked he even got down the field for one touchdown drive.
Nicholas Russo and Ted Hamburg said hello. Oh, my bad.
If
you are really from Hamburg, my bad. That's just a joke. Anyways, moving right along. So, yeah, look, what are you guys' thoughts of the O-line today? Better, worse?
I thought they were solid for most of the game. I mean, they were giving Darnold plenty of time to throw on a lot of occasions. I'm not sure how many times he got sacked today. I don't think it was. He got sacked once. That's it. He took one sack today. I'm not sure how many hits or whatever he took outside of that one, but I thought they did a solid enough job.
Ted, for as long as Darnold holds that football, it's hard to put any blame on the O-line. I mean, I know they're not an A grade O-line. I know that, but I know they're not a D grade either. They're C to a B minus. I think him holding the ball makes them look worse than what they are. I mean, some of the times he's back there for 8. Throw it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So I don't want to blame them for Darnold holding the football too long. If Darnold didn't hold the football that long, was a little more accurate, he would be the best quarterback in the league, probably.
I think I'd buy that.
Pick up the clock in his head, combine that with being more accurate, there's only a couple people in this league that are better than him. Go ahead, throw the hate mail at me. I'm telling you.
No,
a lot of quarterback play.
The great commentariat section is pretty much agreeing. It's a pass block designed O-line. Excellent job. Pretty good. We're seeing the only thing there were a couple runs that I thought had a chance to break out and get some big gains if they make the initial block, and that didn't happen.
Right.
One I will defend Cam Akers on. Who's the rookie defensive lineman or linebacker that's really good? Cooper, I think, for Green Bay. Yeah, I don't know if it was Brandel or maybe it was Reiser that was pulling and he just missed the block. And I think if he makes that block, Akers cuts off the left side and he's got 7-8 more yards at least, and he lost 1 or 2 or whatever it was. I thought the offensive line did pretty well, and I agree with you, Drew. I think sometimes Sam, in looking for a big play, holds on to the ball way too long, man. But I will say this, and something we never really saw in Kirk, that when he does hold on to the ball, if nothing's there, he can climb the pocket very well and get out of a situation that Kirk never could, and either rolls out and throws the ball away and lives to play another day,
right,
or can find a hole in that scrum and get 4 or 5, or even take off and find a big opening in the middle of the field and get some positive yards, where we really haven't seen that since Case could run a little bit, but maybe Dante Culpepper, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that mobility is so underrated, too. I mean, Culpepper was, completely different because dudes that size weren't supposed to be doing what he was doing back then. I mean, he's still my favorite Viking of all time just because of the way he did things. But, Darnold isn't going to be confused with like Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen or anything like that, but he's just mobile enough to do what he needs to do.
Right.
So
Right. He has
the way he controlled the pocket on some of those passes he threw today, just ridiculous. I mean, that's like ESP level galaxy brain stuff that he's doing out there. I mean, he's not the most mobile, but it's I don't want to compare him to Tom Brady, but Brady did that all the time. I mean, there would be pressure on him, and it just seemed like nobody ever brought the guy down because he moved just enough to make sure that the defense couldn't take him down and got some of those passes away.
That's exactly the name I was thinking of. The lateral movement in the pocket reminds me of Brady. The step up reminds me of Brady. Not necessarily running around like Michael Vick, but buying yourself enough time to hit receivers. When he stepped up in Seattle and hit JJ on that touchdown, that was a step up in the pocket. He did it again today when he hit Hawkinson on that first down. He's mobile enough to feel the pressure, Ted, step up and buy himself enough time to hit an open receiver. It's weird when it comes to O-line. I mean, I talk about the O-line. You don't want to be on them for blocking, and pass blocking is different from run blocking. I know that, but when you're blocking for 9 or 10 seconds, the guy gets sacked. It's hard to put that on the O-line. I talked to Ed White a lot about this, about dropping back in the pocket, and I used to say, how long does a quarterback need? How long are you supposed to give a quarterback? And he says, you know what, Drew? I blocked for Tarkinen, so you had to block 3 seconds. That's all you had to block because he wasn't going to be in the pocket anymore. As long as you blocked for 3 seconds, he's out of the pocket, running around, so he didn't really matter. But you can't expect a quarterback to last. You can't expect your O-line to longer than 3 or 4 seconds, man. And it seems like the O-line for the Vikings does hold up for 3 or 4 seconds. But Sam is equipped with the clock in his head to need that smidgen of 5 seconds. He needs that little bit longer to hold them off. So considering the quarterback, Ted, I think the Vikings have a strong B+ grade offensive line, even without Darisaw. I do.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I love how you explained it and why you gave that grade and how you came to that grade. Very good analysis. I like it.
Plus, I look like the guitar player from Bruce Springsteen right now. So that's
little Steven, you kind of do. Yeah.
Niels Lofgren. Yeah.
Oh, Niels Lofgren. Okay. All right. We'll go for that look. Okay. All right. That's sure. All right. Coach Gothard, much like a Sam Darnold throw, I'm late, but I'm here to deliver.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
I love Coach's comments. Coach, you are the man.
So did you really no BS? Like, serious question. You really talked to Ed White about offensive
we talked about Lemon Grove, and it always ends up back into football. And I've been asking my coworkers and everybody, tell me about offensive line. How long do you have to pass block before it's your fault? He says 3 seconds. If you can't expect to have longer than, he's translating it back to the 70s. The 70s, you could have a little longer or whatever. That there wasn't as much blitzing or exotic defensive packages as you see now.
Add the defensive backs were downfield committing crimes against the wide receivers.
Yeah, that did play into it as well. But he also said you can't really base it on what I say, because I blocked for Fran Tarkenton most of my career, and after 3 seconds, he would say, "Screw it, I'm going out here, I'm leaving."
So, without looking at the stats, have you looked at the total stats yet, Chris?
That's Chris' deal.
You haven't.
I've got them all. Right.
Reel them off. Reel off the first downs.
All right. No, if you haven't, and if you have, Chris, you can't answer. But Drew, who do you think was the Vikings' leading receiver today?
Naylor. No.
That's what I would have thought. But it was actually Justin Jefferson, which surprised me. He had 8 catches for 92 yards. Jalen Naylor only had 81. Jordan Addison had 69 yards, and then T.J. Hawkinson had 68. And that was about the quietest 92 yards receiving I think Justin Jefferson had.
But Ted, when they use all the weapons, I like that. I like that a lot more when they're using all the – and Jefferson didn't get one in the first quarter, did he?
He didn't have a target in the first quarter.
Yeah. I don't think he had a target. Yeah. And
how about Jalen Naylor? We've given that guy a lot of crap on this show, and most of it has been deserved, but – man, that dude stepped up today. He couldn't have been more wide open on that touchdown.
I thought this game was what he was going to do against Seattle. Remember, I predicted the 6 catches and the touchdown?
Yeah.
I was a week late, Ted. The game he had tonight was what I thought he was going to have against Seattle. But, yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris. Big hats off for him. What
would you have done, Drew, if he had dropped that pass in the end zone where it was wide open for the touchdown?
First, I would have soiled myself. And then I would have thrown something at the wall, and then I would have turned around and said, "Toots, can you believe it?" And she would have said,
yes.
No, it's mm-hmm. That's all she says. Mm-hmm. God, can't believe we lost this lead. Mm-hmm. Only answer she gives during the game.
She knows better.
She knows better. Yeah.
He had a great game. He needed that. He
did.
Yeah. Good game
All
for
right.
him.
Anthony Tolston, another $4.99. Drew looks like Klaus Meine from the Scorpions with that.
Yeah. Not Klaus. I look like Rudy Shankar. Tolson. Come on now.
Rocking this show like a hurricane.
I'm a
Ravi Shankar?
Rudolph
Ravi
Shankar.
Shankar.
Guter Mutchen, machen schnell, Boden Kraukuchen, Killer Vikingo.
And with that, Drew's going to get us kicked off YouTube.
Yeah, there we go.
We are 14-2. I know it didn't end well, but there's a lot to like about this football team. Cashman, pace. When the Vikings defense is rolling, Ted, it is ass-whooping defense.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
And
it is.
Chris, going back to your point on that drive, when they gave up that touchdown drive to what made it, I think 27-17.
Yeah,
to the
18
Packers.
because they went for.
Yeah, that's right. They
went
went for two.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody mentioned it in the comments earlier. Do you guys think it was more of just, I don't want to say taking their foot off the gas, but maybe not put so much pressure on them, but let them drive a little bit, eat some clock, because we kind of have this game in the bag. Maybe let them get down the field a little bit, get a couple first downs, and then we can force them to get off the field or maybe kick a field goal, and then we'll get the ball back. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I'm not really sure what they were thinking. I mean, I don't think they were thinking, well, we'll just let them go down the field and score. But I think it was maybe give up yards, but eat up time off the clock, because it was getting late in the game. There wasn't a whole lot of time left in the game.
And that's fine, but if you're going to do that, you can't give up plays 15 or 20 yards at a time. I mean, you gotta stop guys after 7 or 8 yards. I mean, they're getting. I mean, yeah, letting them throw underneath and get a few yards here and there is one thing, but yeah, they were eating up big old chunks of yardage at like 10 or 15 yards, and yeah, that's not. And they were getting out of bounds, which was worse.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they need. If you're going to let teams, try to wind down clock or whatever, yeah, you can't let them do it 15 or 20 yards at a time.
Yeah, Brad Marin says Flores went to a 3-man front, and I hated it. And Chris, you said in our group chat text, or group chat, he said, Flores just went to a prevent defense, and he kind of did. I think he was playing more coverage than he was pressure, and which I didn't get, because Drew, you mentioned it earlier. Flores was pressuring Jordan Love all game, and Love looked horrible for 54, 55 minutes of that football game.
Do you remember that drive when it was we scored, and then we kicked it back to them, and we almost had 2 sacks in a row. We had 1 sack on 3rd down, and we almost sacked them the play before, and then they had a penalty the play before. They just looked. It's when they came back from commercial and Love was taking his helmet off, like totally like discombobulated. He had no answer for anything.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. Yep.
When you go from that to what happened after that, that's what gets me. Because you got the Packers' will was shot, Ted. They didn't want to be out there anymore. And all of a sudden we started giving them a little bit of 11-yard pass, a 12-yard pass. And we're going to jump off sides, give them a 2nd and 5. We let them get the momentum back. And at that stage that I just mentioned, it didn't seem like they were going to get any momentum. At the 8-minute mark of that game, they were done. They were done. I don't understand. Maybe they think they're just going to run some time off the clock, like you said. But I know one thing, that I got a lot more faith in this Viking team daggering the game with a 4-minute drive than I did any time in the past. So maybe that played into it. I don't know.
Here's a couple really good comments. One from Dan Lee, and then one right below that from Coach Gothorpe, who probably knows more about football than I'll ever know. But from Dan Lee, he says, do you think KOC tells Flores to drop into prevent? My answer to that is no. I don't think KOC – I think they talk about an overall defensive concept for the week, right. But I think when it comes to game day calling plays, I don't think KOC tells Brian Flores how to call a game, just like I don't think Brian Flores tells KOC how to call a game on offense. What about you, Drew?
Remember the I think it was the plays I just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
when they showed Flores slapping high fives, and he was getting animated on the sidelines. That's when I figured whatever's going on there, just keep it. Just keep going. I don't think KOC even mentions a smidge of how to run that guy's defense. I don't think he does.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, I don't think Kevin O'Connell puts his nose into the defense too much, to be honest. I mean, I think Flores is one of those coaches where, he's basically what Mike Zimmer kind of wanted to be, except Zimmer was the head coach, so that doesn't Mike Zimmer wanted to run the defense and control the defense and everything else, and let his offensive coordinator just kind of handle that side of the ball. Kevin O'Connell has recognized, I'm good at designing offensive plays and play calling and quarterback development and that sort of thing, but I'm not a defensive guy. That's why you have Brian Flores on your coaching staff, so that you can go to him and say, all right, dude, you do whatever the hell you think is best, and keep the other team out of the end zone so we can get the ball back and score points. So I know the guy's going to be a head coach again, probably sooner rather than later. I want him to stay in Minnesota until he just doesn't want to be here anymore. But I don't think Kevin O'Connell pokes his nose into the defense too much.
I don't either. And this is the other comment I want to bring up is from Coach Gothorpe. And I think this is what led to that fairly easy TD drive that got the Packers within 9. It said Flores went with the rare 6-man rush from the box and prevent coverage in the secondary. You get a sack or give up a big play. There's no in between.
That's why he's the coach right there.
Yeah. And it makes sense because when you're up 27-10, if you go, with the 0-man blitz that Flores loves to do, if you don't get home, you're probably going to give up a huge 60, 65-yard touchdown, and now all of a sudden you've got a whole hell of a lot more time left, and now there's a whole lot of life on the Green Bay sideline as opposed to make them drive down the field to score. And so I sort of get that philosophy. Make them drive, make them eat up clock, and you're still even though if they do score, and look at the end of that drive, they still pissed away, I think, a good minute when I can't remember who caught the ball. They caught it, but they stayed in bounds at the 2 or the 3. Then they tried a running play. The Vikings held them, and they didn't call a timeout. And then they finally scored. So they wasted a good minute there. And then the Vikings got the ball back and ran the clock out or whatever it was. So anyways, I don't know.
It's a
different philosophies, but whatever. Yeah.
You watch this for 50 years. You see football. Football has weird moments, has weird momentum swings. You got to be ready for it all. The coach is right. I think coach is right. I think the Vikings got caught a little bit maybe thinking they getting dicey there at the end, but I think KOC was kind of going, Flores, whatever you do, I'm going to end this game next time we get the ball. So I'm not worried about it. The Vikings have a lot more confidence with their team. I'd rather look at the first 3.5 quarters of how they played rather than the last half, because they wouldn't have been playing like that if they were ahead 27-10, Chris. They wouldn't have. They would have been playing a different kind of defense. No,
they wouldn't have. And, I don't know if it's similar to what we saw the last time these two teams played when they got out to the big 28-7. They were up 28-7 going into the fourth quarter and had to hang on for dear life again, like they did this week. But, like we say every week, when this team needs drives to be put together and they need plays to be made, Sam Darnold just goes out there and does it. And like I said, the last 4,
right,
the last 4 offensive plays that the Vikings ran were, a pass to C.J. Ham,
right,
a pass to Justin Jefferson, and a pass to Cam Akers. I mean, not Hawkinson, not Addison, not Aaron Jones. I mean, we're C.J. Ham and Cam Akers making the biggest plays of the afternoon. I mean, that's. You don't see that from, you don't see that all the time.
I think as we discuss this, and people in the chat, Ted, when we bounce it back and forth, I think the difference to me, when all the smoke clears, we're winning these games when we have these breakdowns and these meltdowns, and at least we're winning. And that's something, like you mentioned to open the show, that's been plaguing us since the 70s and 80s and Tice. And we seem to blow games like this. This year, they're holding the culture, won't let them lose. And I like that about this team. I don't like having it be that uncomfortable, but Swedish Meatballs, that has some good comments. He has some good comments.
Yeah, he does. So he said, what, do I still not like Cam Akers or whatever it was?
Go ahead. Give us your Cam Akers thing, Ted. Give us the breakdown.
Well, I addressed this earlier. There he goes. Ted, how about Cam Akers? Still don't like him. I gave him his due credit earlier. The touchdown he had on that pass was a heck of a play. That catch he made at the end of the game to seal it was an incredible catch off a fairly bad throw. I said I don't think Aaron Jones makes that catch. I don't know how many guys in the NFL make that catch. I'm still not a huge fan of the guy. I'm just not. But
he's a backup, Ted. What do you want from him?
I'm giving him his due credit. I am. But look, when Ty Chandler was in there running the ball today, he ran the ball better. He just did.
Good to see Ty. Good to see Chandler getting some carries. I was happy.
Got a couple of things from Kevin O'Connell on the social medias here. Apparently, he said that they're expecting Pat Jones to miss some time with the knee injury that he wound up having. And he said we talked about Aaron Jones earlier. Said he had a quad contusion that kept him out during the late part of the game. He said he was working his way through it, but Jones was on the sideline and waiting to go back in if they needed him, but they didn't need him. So he stayed out. We'll have to keep an eye on how the quad issue goes heading into next Sunday.
Ted, I got an Aaron Jones question for you, Chris, and the chat.
Okay.
We're getting to the playoffs. We need Aaron Jones. We need that tough, hard nose up in between the A gap running. Do you sit him against Detroit?
No.
If he's not healthy?
No. You need to get home field, I think.
Even if he's not, if he's 75%, you play him?
I would.
Okay.
Absolutely. If you
play
get that home field advantage, he gets a whole week off to sit there and rest it and do whatever.
I guess my roundabout question is saying, can we win without Aaron Jones? Can we beat the Lions next week?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, good. Absolutely, I think we can.
We need Aaron Jones 100% going into the playoffs. We need him fully healthy.
Yep.
I disagree.
Really?
I don't think Aaron Jones has been very effective for the last month and a half.
Maybe he's not fully healthy. That's what I'm saying. Do you get him healthy for the playoff run?
How many games have they won the last month and a half?
No. But he disappears and he's getting that big ass ice thing wrapped on his leg every week. Every fucking week I see that big ass ice thing getting taped on there. What? The guy gets banged up a lot. We need him for the stretch run, and we are at the stretch run. I know Aaron Jones gives us a great chance of getting the number 1 seed. Can the Vikings win against the Lions and spot Aaron Jones to push to the playoffs? Can they still get the number 1 seed without him? If they have to have him, play him. But he's not the same player, Ted, when he's not 100%. He's not. 100%, he's deadly. He is a great running back, one of the best in the league when he's 100%. But you can tell when he's banged up. You can tell.
They can win without him.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think so.
Let's win without him. Let's get him healthy.
I'd still say play him, and if he gets hurt, I think you need to play him.
Pride of August,
Santa CJ Ham, former Vikings deep threat with Kirk Cousins. Anyways, no, I think they can. I think they can win without him. But I mean, look, Aaron Jones has just been a guy basically for the last throughout this entire winning streak since they come out of the bye.
No, that's a good.
I mean, point. he's probably not going to be back next year. I wouldn't reckon, but yeah. I think they could beat Detroit without him if they wanted to sit him. But, is he the best back Minnesota has? Yeah, I think he pretty clearly is the best back that Minnesota has. But
hey, Cam Akers.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, we draft Ashton Janty next year, and we solve all our running back problems.
Do the Vikings win tonight without Cam Akers in there with those big plays?
No, they don't. No. I'll be the first to admit it. They don't. Because I don't think Aaron Jones makes that catch. I don't think
Then that means you've been wrong about him the last 2 months. If you say that now.
No.
Ted?
No.
Ted, don't make me, Ted. Don't make me take you to school, because I'll do it.
You know where I live. You know where I live.
Don't make me take you to football school, baby, because y'all do it. 14-2, Ted. 14-2. When have we been 14-2? When's the last time we were 14-2?
Well, at 98, 15-1.
We're gonna kick the Lions' ass. I feel it. I was more worried about this game than the Lions. We're gonna kick their asses.
Somebody mentioned this in the chat earlier. You're talking about resting starters, talking about Aaron Jones. Somebody mentioned earlier. I don't know, Ruby, if you can find that quote, but somebody mentioned, "Hey, should the Lions rest their starters?"
Oh, I saw that.
If they lose,
he said they're not going to.
Okay.
So what's the scenario for next week, Ted? You mentioned something during our chat in the game. It doesn't matter what they do tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
Chris mentioned it. Yeah.
So what happens? So even if the Lions lose and go to 13-3, the Vikings are 14-2. If they were to come in and win next week against the Vikings, both teams would be 14-3, but the Lions would have the head-to-head sweep, so they would be ahead of us. So even if they lose tomorrow, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't change that Sunday's game is still for the number one seed and the NFC North. So it doesn't matter if they win on Monday. It doesn't matter if they lose on Monday. It's going to be, Sundays for all the marbles next week.
What was that comment before Brad's?
Chuck Litwin, I think, said, "Is next week's game the most significant regular season game league wide in the last forever?" I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there have been teams that have played in the last week of the regular season with the division title and or the number one seed on the line. If somebody's a research genius,
I mean, the Patriots played a game a few years ago to determine whether or not they went 16-0 in the regular season. That was probably pretty, a big one for them. But
this is the biggest Vikings regular season game in history coming up
in a long time.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely the biggest Lions-Vikings game in history.
Yeah, and Coach Gawthorpe is right. I would be stunned if any other game but Vikings-Lions was Sunday Night Football next week. That's the game they got to put on Sunday Night Football just because of the stakes involved.
Some of these games are Tennessee and Carolina and stuff. Oh my Lord!
Yep.
Man, this is making up for. You know what? This has been a. Ted said it many times on this show. This is the season we didn't expect. We're getting treated to a very special thing, everybody. This is a good journey. None of us expected this. The Vikings are in a run now, 14-2, to make a Super Bowl run, and none of us thought so. So I don't see how anybody could be negative about this team. I don't see it.
Vikings Uncensored said, with Philly winning today, they could still get the number one seed if Detroit loses tomorrow and we lose next week.
Oh
no, because if we lose to Detroit next week, Detroit jumps us.
That's what I thought.
And Detroit still beats Philadelphia on tiebreakers. I'm relatively certain. I've heard numerous times today the Phillies locked into the number 2 spot.
Rhino, get off the Pabst Blue Ribbon.
They can't move out of the number 2 position.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's either going to be Minnesota or Detroit for the number.
So we either get the bye in the number 1 seed, or we go 5?
Fifth.
Yeah.
5th seed,
and a road trip to play whoever wins the NFC South, probably.
Guys, not playing that extra playoff game is so freaking huge, man.
It would be huge.
It would be.
Which is what she said.
And then we're at home, regardless of who we play, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so, and we'll when we go to our preview show for the Lions game, we'll talk about potential playoff seedings and all that stuff. But yeah, 14-2, man, that's awesome. I don't know what else you want to say, and I don't know if you're still doubting the Vikings because all these close wins or whatever. And if you are, not you. I'm just talking about
here's why they doubt though. Here's why the so-called experts doubt the Vikings. Ted, we win a game 27-25. All of us watch all these games in great detail. We know that wasn't 27-25 game. That was a 30-point game. They've had a bunch of those this year, but people at ESPN don't look at it like that. They just look at the scores. We know how they play. And that wasn't a 2-point game tonight. The Vikings had them beat by a lot worse than that. And that's why people downgrade the Vikings. That's why there's no credit. That's why they're always the underdog, because people don't know. And I'll say it, the second half of that Falcons game, we play like that, nobody's beating us. Lions, Chiefs, bring them on. They can't beat us. The Vikings, when they're rolling, cannot be beat by any team in this league. And ESPN and all those idiot experts, they don't know that, Ted. They just look at the final score and say, the Vikings slipped by the Packers tonight. That wasn't a slip-by game at all.
And I'll say, I've said this, I think last week, I think I said this Friday during our live preview show. I think the Vikings are the most battle-tested team heading into the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They don't get flustered. They don't get rattled. They can be down by 10, and it's not going to matter. And when you come into the playoffs, you need to be able to handle adversity, because I don't think, especially when you get into the divisional round and the conference championship and then the Super Bowl, hopefully if it gets to that point, knock on wood, you're not going to be in a 31-0 game. It's going to be a one-score game, pretty much the entirety of the game. And if you've been in nothing but one-score games the entire season, it's going to be something you're used to. So it's not going to be anything that you haven't seen before, and it's not going to be anything that you are going to start panicking over if you have been a team like Detroit when you're up 52-10 midway in the third quarter against Jacksonville. And now all of a sudden, man, we're down by 10 points. Can we handle this? Well, you're about to find out. Well, the Vikings know what that feels like, and their demeanor does not change on the sideline. Yeah. And they know, you've heard Kevin O'Connell talk about it, and he talks about it in his post-game locker room speeches. He's like, look, we got something special here. We know we're going to be fine, and they are. So just shut up for once and listen to this team. They're going to be fine. They're going to be okay.
And I want to point out something that Coach Gawthorpe just said a little bit ago that I think is dead on. I think a lot of these really smart football types are still waiting for the real Sam Darnold to show up. Even after 16 weeks, after 16 weeks of kicking ass, the guy's he's damn near doubled his career high for touchdown passes in a season. I think his season best was like 19 coming into this year. He's at 35 now. You know, he should be part of the MVP conversation. He's not.
Coach,
they're just waiting for the quote unquote real Sam Darnold to show up and cost the Vikings a game, and it keeps not happening, and they don't know what the hell to say about it exactly.
I would argue what we're seeing from Sam Darnold this year, this is the real Sam Darnold. This is the Sam Darnold that came out of USC. He just never had the proper coaching. He never had enough talent around him to bring out the talent that he had. Now that he has it, we're seeing the real Sam Darnold. And nobody is saying that because they're too stupid to realize how good Sam Darnold was.
I think a lot of it has to go to KOC also.
Yeah.
KOC, he's got Darnold in here, and he knows Darnold is like a skittish dog. He's been beaten a lot. And he's like a guy you got to bring along. You got to get his confidence back, Ted. But he has let the whole season, Kevin O'Connell has let Sam Darnold be who he wants to be. The risk taker now and then. He makes some bad decisions now and then, but when he comes to the sideline, he says, that's your game. This is your game. And Darnold has thought, man, nobody's ever let me play my game. The freaking Jets wanted me to do all this certain thing, and Carolina. I think Darnold has come in here, and KOC has let him be his own person. And I think the help of JJ and Hawkinson and Addison stepping up for their quarterback and being behind him has given Darnold finally. I mean, what a great story Sam Darnold's been. He owned USC. He owned everything about USC. Great quarterback ever come out of there almost. And now he's back on top, Ted. Now he's feeling that he's deserving what he's getting. He deserves it. He's a good guy.
And another thing is they told him, look, it's okay to make a mistake.
Right.
Where he couldn't in New York and Carolina because it was a bad team. They were just bad teams. And if he made a mistake, they were pretty much done. And they told him, look, you can make a mistake. It's okay. We'll get it back for you. And every time he's made a mistake, I'm sure they came to the sideline. Sam Darnold is a piss missile slinging killer.
That's what I'm going to call him from now on.
Yeah. He's a long range sniper, Sam the Hunter. And look, and I'm sure, I'm sure when they signed Daniel Jones, they said, forget everything you ever learned about playing quarterback in the NFL. We are going to relearn you, and we are going to reteach you everything you need to know. And I'm sure that's what they told Sam Darnold to some extent. And they brought in Josh McCown to be his quarterback coach, who was his backup when he got drafted by the Jets. And that's what they've done with Sam. And they said, look, it's okay to make a mistake, and we'll tell you what you did wrong and what not to do the next time. And look, man, it's worked. And this is the real Sam Darnold. I'm telling you, it is.
They got something special going on with these receivers and Sam Darnold. They do. Because you're right, Ted, the wheels never come off. With KOC, with Wes Phillips, with Darnold, they have a plan. When Darnold threw that pick, he went to the sidelines with a look on his face like, I'm going to kick the fuck out of these guys when I get back out there. That's not what he had in New York. That's not what he had in Carolina. That is not the look. He was the towel draped over his head doing the Cam Newton special. That's what he was. Now he's going to the sideline. He was so amped to get back out there. And that's what you want to see from your quarterback. Confidence. I'm going to kick their ass. What a storyline. Is there a better storyline in the NFL this year than Sam Darnold? Is there?
No.
No,
there
shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be.
Anthony Tulsa says when Sam got in the locker room a minute ago, they carried him around like he was the second coming of Fran Tarkenton. Great moment. I'm going to have to go watch that later. That's awesome. That's just awesome.
I sent it to you guys in the private chat to watch for later.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll do.
I saw it.
All righty. Awesome. All right. With that, Ruby, you there?
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Tootses, were you worried about the game tonight at all?
I'm sorry, what?
Were you worried at all about the Vikings game tonight at all? I mean,
Yes.
I never was. I have not been.
I wasn't as much as I usually am, but yeah, a little bit.
We don't have a lot of shows left this season. Tootses, what's your favorite part of the Vikings team this year? You never get to answer. You never get to talk.
That's because I don't like being put on the spot.
Well,
What's my favorite thing?
Plays. What do you like best about this team?
It's working with Ted on the show, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is Ted Glover.
How can I be so obtuse not to see that coming at me?
Thanks for saving me, Ted. All right, here
You're
we go.
welcome.
We got a lot of names today.
Yeah?
Jeebus. That's a whole lot of.
Jeebus. I haven't heard that in years. Who gets it?
Jason Fanagi again.
Fanagi, he's been with us from the beginning.
Yeah, he has.
He was the guy cheering us on when we were just a garage band back in Memphis. Thanks. Fanagi's been there since the begining.
Yeah, before we signed our first record deal, Fanagi was there.
He was, wasn't he?
Following us around at local bars and
when we were first getting the prize vault together, he was donating stuff to help us.
He was, yeah.
When we first started, and that was like 4 years ago. So
when we were nothing more than a Hall & Oates cover band.
We were just a Hall & Oates cover band. Jason has stuck with us from the beginning, so go in the prize vault and pick you out something nice.
1-on-1. All right.
Oh my God.
Look,
right now we're Rage Against the Machine now. Vikings are not no Hall & Oates. We're moving on up.
We will be back. That'll about pretty much wrap it up for this show. Thanks so much for joining us again. We will be back later in the week for our penultimate season preview game, the most important Vikings regular season game in a very, very long time, if not in franchise history. I don't know if it is or not, but it's a really, really important one. And then we will be live after the Vikings-Lions game, and hopefully after the Vikings beat the Lions and wrap up the number one seed and home field advantage. And I've got a good feeling about this game. I really do.
Yep.
I'm telling you, the Vikings have been playing with house money all season, and all the pressure is on Detroit because everybody expected Detroit to be the number one seed or number two seed and a preseason Super Bowl favorite, and nobody expected the Vikings to be anywhere near this close.
Nope.
Absolutely.
Vikings are playing with house money, kids, and that, I'm telling you, Detroit's going to be feeling all the pressure. That's all I'm going to say for now. But, Chris, Drew, any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah.
We managed to hold on for another one. That's 9 in a row. I think this is the longest winning streak since like the 70s. At some point, I'd have to go back and look it up. But yeah, this is truly a season that nobody expected, and for as long as it lasts, it's going to continue to be just a whole lot of fun, I think.
All right, Drew.
I'm fired up. I am fired up. 14-2. We're moving on. Come join us on I can't see right now, but come join us on Vikings Report. I look like I'm born in East LA, Ted, but we are rolling along at 14-2. Come on board. Let's go to the playoffs and beat Detroit and make this a magical season that we all know we can have. I'm sold. Sam Darnold, the Vikings, Ted, all the way.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Good night. Drive safe. Skull Vikes.
And the days